Assalamualaikum guys, this is Ayaz. Inshallah today we will do a session on admission process in universities in USA. Um, Primarily, the whole discussion would be in English, but if any question and I need to clarify some of the things, I may speak in Urdu just to make it easy for the people. Okay? So bear with me. I will give all the details of admission. And if you have any question, inshallah, the question would be answered toward the end, since a lot of things would be covered. So just hold on to your questions, and every question will, inshallah, I will try to explain toward the end. In terms of taking notes, the best thing is right now just listen to the video. Since the video would be done, everything is recorded, you can watch it later on and get those notes later on. In the start, I would prefer you guys just to listen so you can ask me good questions, okay? And hopefully we will try to explain every single thing, and also make sure that you get every point that you need for this admission process, okay? So I'm just giving a right introduction, and I want all people to join so they can be part of this live session, and they can get all the information they need for this process, okay? So maybe 30 seconds or a minute more. In the meanwhile, make sure that you do have, at least some notebooks. So if some question comes in, please write it down on the notebook. Do not post anything right now, because so many people are going to post, and then eventually they're all going to just disappear. I would expect the questions toward the end, since I'm going to be covering so much material, and you would probably get your answer while we speak, okay? And toward the end, again, I'm repeating, I will take the questions. So hold on to your questions, write it on a piece of paper, and once the session is done, we conclude, then I will answer all those questions. So I'm going to just wait for the moderator. We're just hoping that some more people, come on and start seeing the live, and then we'll go ahead and start it. So do I have a thumbs up? Should I start? So we're not going to delay, unfortunately, because already the session was started a little bit late. There were some technical difficulties. Hopefully, you should be able to, answer the. You should be able to listen to the recorded video later on. So I'm going to start. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thanks for coming, everyone. I have had other videos you may have heard, seen, but there is always something new. Always something that comes up that we have to make sure that everybody's aware of. And since there are a few new things, hopefully you will learn those too. But keep in mind the admission process in general, it is very straightforward. And of course, it's easy for us to say straightforward since we have been through this process. Everything is online, okay? Small nitty-gritty information that sometime you need, that's where some of the mentors or some of the people who have went through this process may be able to help you in a better way. Now, everything that I tell you right now, every information that I provide you, you have to keep one thing in mind. It's a journal information, okay? If you are in some particular condition, if you have some particular situation, then you have to ask those questions in private, because then it's much easier to answer those questions. For US, the journal assumption that I can tell you about higher education is, for PhDs, all PhDs positions are fully funded, okay? Now, we have seen recently some trend that they give admission to some student, even though they don't provide them the financial support or the funded position. And that seems to be a normal trend now, which may arise from the fact that they assume that you might join them with your own scholarship. So let's say you apply for fully funded US admission. If you do not get admission as a fully funded candidate, they may offer you admission, and they may expect you that you may bring your own grant, which could be HSC somewhere else, blah, 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 which is a possibility. So if you do get in this situation, depending on your situation, we may have a different answer for you. So please, those people who think they may have question about they got admission, but they don't have funding, it depends on their circumstances, and those answers are very specific. In general, in US, one thing that I would like to clarify, and hopefully I will make a video separate for that on a YouTube, and then we can definitely share with everyone or write a small note. In US admission process, you will encounter 4 different departments. Remember 4 in any university. And again, it's a journalized discussion. So don't take it that, oh, my university doesn't do it. Well, maybe that one does not, but even most of them, they do. You will have a admission department. You will have second one, your department. So let's say Department of Engineering. Within the Department of Engineering, you may have Division of Civil Engineering, Computer Science, and other. So one is department, second is your admission department, okay? Third is a graduate school, okay? So 3, you have to remember, admission, then is your department, and third is your graduate school. 4th is international office, okay? You deal with the first 3 in the start. The last one, which is your international department, or they have a different names in different universities, that plays a role once you get the admission. So the first 3, which is admission department, the department you are applying, and the third is the graduate school. They are very important in the start. You have to read about these 3, especially the graduate school and the department that you are applying in. So let's say you're applying in computer science, just for example. You will definitely go on their website. You will read about their programs. If they have a computer science program, and if they are applying for a PhD, is this PhD related with your interest? If yes, then you'd go to the requirement. You will see if they have a fully funded PhD program, how many candidates they take. Some universities do not write this information, okay? They just think it's a proprietary information, and they may not oblige based on the university rule that they don't have to, share it with the rest of the world, and they can do so. But these are the information. You may be able to get it if you email them, number 1, or the second thing that you can do, you can dig into the department and the division. So these are of course, some steps that you have to understand, that you have to spend a lot of time to get this kind of information. So let's keep this for a while. So department that I spoke right now is computer science. I'm going to get back to that. Let's go one step back, and that is every university has a graduate school. The job of graduate school is make rules. So if I have to give you an example, let's say Punjab University is the university. They are the main body who makes the rules, and all those colleges, all those different schools, let's say School of Dentistry, different medical schools, then medical colleges, they come under Punjab University. Punjab University make the rule. Once they make the rule, all those colleges has to follow them. Now, those rules are general, very generic rules, that this might be the admission criteria, this will be this, you should provide that. But not necessarily the Department of Engineering or College of Engineering or computer science, or let's say civil engineering, they have to follow those rules, but they may have some extra, number 1. Sometimes they may have some concession. If you read rules, you read some of the requirement on graduate school website that these must be met. Sometimes they may have some luxury in terms of they may have, let's say, they may say only 10 PhD student will be accepted in College of Engineering, okay, per division. So in their case, let's say if there are 5 different divisions in the College of Engineering, computer science, electrical engineering, electronics, civil, or mechanical, they may say every year they take 10. Yes, that's true, but not necessarily. Sometimes they may take only 5 because they do not have graduated enough students, they can support some more. Sometimes they make 15. It is just for them to say, hey, every year we take 50 PhD students from College of Engineering, and they graduate 50 every year. So 50 are graduated, 50 more comes in. This is just an information provided on college on the graduate school. Does that mean this is exactly how it is for every department in every university in every institution? No. Okay. You may go to your department and see if they really take that many. If they really have more than 5, they may have 15, they may have 20. That's one. Second, always remember, universities get money through, so if it's a state school university, let's say public school, university, they get money from the state. They get endorsement, donation from some of their donors, and they use that money to basically run the universities and give for research. But one thing that we always, all the mentors, every mentor which is seeing right now, are the mentors that if you have talked to, you will always listen one thing from them, and that is always contact professor. And see, we always encourage you. Yes, it is good that to apply for direct admission. And the good thing about American universities is you do not apply for separate scholarship. When you apply for PhD position, it is fully funded. Okay. And fully funded means you don't have to separately send an application for a scholarship. If you get PhD, it will be fully funded. And like I said earlier, in some universities, they now give you admission without funding, expecting that you may bring your own funding from the country of origin, which of course we don't expect you guys to do it. Now, some professors, okay, they apply for grants. If they get grant, in the grant, when I say grant means the grant proposal, when it goes to NIH, any other institution, there are hundreds of institutions they give, organization they give money for research. If this professor gets a let's say 2 million grant, okay, within 2 million, he would say, hey, I will train 1 or 2 PhD student, maybe 1-2 postdocs. Okay, if he does that, you don't have to know that, how many number of students they have put in their grant. But if they have said it, now this professor can easily support 1 or 2 PhD students. If he can do so, the best way for him to hire is what? If somebody refer him someone. And yes, you will be amazed, in America, 80% of jobs are basically filled through references. Reference doesn't mean that they will give to anyone. It means if I know someone, okay, who is looking for a PhD student, like, I work as a clinical scientist, and I know that person, and I know some of you student might be a good fit. I may say, you know what, I know this student from Pakistan, he has a good profile, and he may be a good fit for your lab at this stage. This is a reference. He may interview, he may ask you, he may contact you, or you may contact them. This is very important. Since you guys are overseas, you guys are not here, always email, okay? And do not email 50 professor in one day. You cannot simply do that, okay? I hear all the time, मैंने एक दिन में 50 प्रोफेसर को ईमेल की, कोई रिप्लाई नहीं आया, आपको एक साल में भी रिप्लाई नहीं आएगा. Why? Because you just copy paste, and that is not what we expect you to do. Direct admission जरूर apply करें, please do that. But if you have the luxury, you have the time, if you have taken your GRE already by now or in September, then you have at least two months, October and November, to easily contact professors. Even after admission, you can contact them. Do not ask them, hey, do you have a PhD position? Never do that. Ask them, I'm a prospect, a future student for in your school or institution. I have already applied. And in the meanwhile, I'm just looking at different options, in a research lab. And, your profile seems to be very interesting. And I just want to touch base with you. This is all you have to say. 1 or 2 email, 2-3 line email, just to start a conversation. Okay, that's one. Let's say you have not applied yet. Still, you can email them if you have the luxury of time. If you have taken your GRE, then yes, you have the luxury. But if you have not taken the GRE, my first suggestion, and all the mentor would agree with that, please pay more attention to your GRE, because the higher the score, the better it is. If somebody asks me what the minimum score they get 340. You should aim for 340. Okay, do not aim for 300 or 310. 340 should be your aim. And Scholarden provides you a lot of information. So many groups are there, on WhatsApp, that they help each other, through this platform. So use it. Okay. Now, going back, sending an email to professor is important. And when you send it, make sure that you write a very dignified and worthy email, not too long, not too short, showing that who you are, what you're looking for, what have you done, and always attach your email. When they tell you, hey, I don't have money, don't get disappointed. Yes, they don't. They're honest. Okay. Sometimes they will tell you, hey, hi, I have applied for a grant and I'm going to hear back in 6 months. Please contact me in 6 months. So please do that. Write it down somewhere that you may have to contact them. Okay. And then once you have, started conversation with them, then, after that, we'll give you basically a very specific answer to what email you get from them. I cannot cover those in here. So I have covered two things. Number one, direct admission, very straightforward. You need GRE, you need English test, you need SOP, CV, and of course we help with writing the SOP and CV. And of course, scholarship then provides you a platform where you can prepare for GRE. Okay. Now the question that arises when I told you in the start was there are 4 departments, 3 that you deal with in the start: admission, a graduate school, and your department. So I talked to you about the graduate school. They make the rules, your department follows it, but you make sure that sometimes some of the information the graduate school apply may completely not be implemented by them. Means they don't violate, but they have their own, ease for the student. And let's say if they say we don't have too much money, we only provide 5 PhD students. They may say no, we have money for 10 PhD students, because some of the professors have their own grants. Okay, so they may go through the system, university system, and choose student for that extra 5, or they may go through some references which I just explained. Okay, now the first thing that you have to always start is with the admission department. That's what I'm going to go now. Admission department, the job of admission department is very simple. Okay, they take your paperwork, they assess. If they see everything is completed, they forward it to the Department of Engineering, Science, Computer Science, or wherever you have applied. Okay. If you ask them about any funding, they will not be able to answer you. So please do not waste your time asking admission department about any funding. This is not their decision. Okay. Number one, all you have to do is fulfill your requirement through admission. Once that is done, then you may ask them, hey, or you can dig in and find out the information of the department where you have applied, okay? And then contact them about anything, which is what is the status of your application? If there is any, what are the funding chances? You can even ask them how many students you take, these are the questions admission department cannot, and you should not ask them, okay? They have no knowledge. They're a bunch of students, and let me be very honest to you. Hopefully, and maybe some of you guys who go there for a master's, and I will cover the master, funded opportunities later on. All these students who work in international office, their job is get the paperwork and get it in the file and basically forward it to the department. So just imagine if you go there for a master's, you become, you get a campus job and you become one of the front desk person or the person who would collect these documents from international student. Would you know all these knowledge? The answer is no. So what you are doing is you are asking someone who is in the same level like you are about, hey, is there a funding position? Is there in this? They will not know. Okay, so please do not ask admission department about any kind of funding. As long as you fulfill your requirement, you fulfill all the paperwork, you send it to admission office, your job is done with them. Your main contact person should be in the Department of Engineering at computer science if you're applying there, or computer electronics, or if you are applying for basic science, within basic science, whichever your division is, you will talk to them. Do not send an email to the Department of Biosciences, to Sciences. Sciences, Department of Sciences is basically a division within science, within College of, let's say, different, let's say it could be science and humanity, science and this. This is another thing that I wanted to cover since it's come, so let me just explain. The way structure of any university work is very simple, but sometimes very complicated. Okay, so you will never hear medical university. You always hear College of Medicine. The same way you will always hear College of Engineering. That means there is a university and that has a medical university, college, engineering college, science college, then let's say business and some other, okay? So university, one, then branches, so you have engineering, medical, life sciences, and then maybe business, okay? Then the division even go further, and that is, let's say within sciences, you will have College of Science, which would be only talking about social sciences. Then what would be basic sciences like, chemistry, biochemistry, physiology, those kind of, okay? Then you have within engineering, you have electronics, electrical, civil, so many. So you have to make sure that you find the right department, right division, and within that college, and then email them. Otherwise, your email will be lost. Okay, because they get so many requests that they will not be able to fulfill that. Another thing, when you email professor or any department, please do not expect they will reply within one day. I get every day 10, 12 emails, and I cannot reply every day that many. Okay, I have to sometimes need 1 or 2 weeks to catch up. Okay, so please give them a week or two before you feel like, hey, I should remind them. Unless if it's urgent, then you can, in the subject, please write them it's an urgent. Now, one more thing that I have to explain to you, and that is mostly for medical students or medical graduates that they want to go for higher education. College of Medicine is always by itself a university, but they don't call it university, okay? So if you go under University College of Medicine, within College of Medicine, you will see dentistry, pharmacy, physical therapy. Then they will have physiology and all those. The problem is it's so complicated that I cannot explain. All I can say, if you have to look for any particular department, you would have to dig in a lot. Okay, I hope I can make a separate video for that, but then I have to basically walk you through simple steps, and maybe at some stage we may do that. The reason I'm giving you this particular information is most of the time the people who are in basic science may also be eligible to apply in College of Medicine. Let me repeat. If you are from biochemistry, biophysics, or any other basic science, you have done some gene therapy, or you want to do PhD in gene therapy or protein engineering, all these can also have position available under College of Medicine. Within College of Medicine, you may have pathology, okay? You may have neurology, you may have radiology, okay? And let me give you a little bit more information. Sometimes some of these departments, okay, so let's say College of Radiology may even have a program for physicists. The people who have physics background, they may have some position there. And why? Department of Oncology, which is a cancer department, and they do treatment, or radiology, which do diagnosis. They do have a very intense PhD requirement under radiation oncology or medical physics, okay? You will be amazed that you will not find a position within College of Sciences under physics department. You will not find that position, but you will find this position in College of Medicine, and then radiology or oncology, and then there. So now you see my point. Sometimes you have to dig in a lot to find where is a department and how you can contact with that department, okay? So I'm not going to give a very generic answer that every university does that. No, it does not. Some of them have different, but based on my experience, this is my suggestion to you, that you guys should always dig in, okay? Read about these programs. The more you read, the more you know, hey, it may be here or there, okay? And sometimes it does happen that, some people might give some position, and then that position might say, hey, you know what, yes, it was announced position, although it was announced in the Department of Oncology, which again I told you come in medical college, and medical college then come, of course, in the university, and engineering college and medical college do not have any connection between them, okay? Unless there is a collaboration, then they do. So going back, why I'm stressing on this, that sometimes you guys ask, a very simple question. How can I find the position? How can I find the person to contact? That's how. Yes, it takes time. Yet it takes time to dig in. And unfortunately, I cannot just give you one generic answer. All I can say is you have to dig in. And when you do, the best way to do is, if you find out if that university has a program, then you may dig in the College of Engineering and also College of Medicine for two reasons. Number one, College of Medicine do have programs for basic science, pathology, cell biology, bone marrow transplant. They all do require people from basic science. When I say basic science, that means biochemistry, biophysics, physiology, any gene. Well, not genomics is going to be a little bit higher level, but something that is related with the basic science, meaning the people who work in the labs where they use a lot of biochemistry, basic science, biology, molecular biology, and also bioinformatics. Trust me, bioinformatics too. So all these different background may find some position in the College of Medicine, not in College of under the College of Science. Okay, so keep that in mind. Sometimes you may have a different positions in these two departments. So keep that in mind that you may have to dig in both if they have it. If they don't have College of Engineering, then College of Medicine, then of course there is none that you have to worry about. Okay, so I explained again 4 different departments. Okay, the 4th one would be the international, which I'm gonna get back to it. And then I told you how these 3 different department works, and they do not sometimes have any connection. So please do not ask a question that is related with the graduate school from the college of from the admission department or from the department you're applying, because they will have no clue. Okay, and always email, because in email you get written proof. If you call them, they may not even answer because they're always busy. And even if they answer you on the phone, you do not have any proof to prove it in the future. Okay, so always email them. You can, and again, I'm repeating this. If you want to have a follow-up, give them at least a week to 2 before you ask them for a follow-up. Don't expect they're going to email you the next day, because you're not the only one who's applying. There are other thousands of students applying there from all over the world every year. So you're not the only one. Second, any question that comes related with the university, please do not ask on the social media, because believe me, if I tell you, hey, that's the answer, and you go tell them, I asked bhai ne bola tha, they will not take that, because I am nothing. This is their school. Do not listen to the people who tell you, hey, is university mein apply nahi karo, admission nahi milega. Look, this is not the decision of your neighbor. This is not the decision of your colleague. This is not the decision of your friend. Okay, no matter that friend is a PhD student in the USA, do not listen to them. The decision is made by admission committee. If the admission committee want to give you based on some circumstances, you may not be the strongest applicant, but your SOP was amazing because you wrote something and you had a very good plan of work, you may get it, and the stronger applicant may not get it. Okay, so do not get disappointed that you did not get number 1. Okay, second, do not ask this question from social media. Always ask the university the basic questions. Okay, the one that is not the basic one, I mean something which is you want to clarify. Otherwise, like small thing, that the one I'm explaining, the general one, yes, you can ask anybody, and you can do so. One last thing, that although one of the student that I told recently, and that one of the university do not require GRE, and please do not ask me the name of that university, because I would not tell you that. And the reason is, although the university say, hey, the GRE is not required, but trust me, everybody who will apply will have a GRE. Okay, why? Because they're not the only. This is not the only university they're applying in. Okay, they are applying to 5-6 universities. This one was one of them. And when they applied, they had a GRE. Guess what? You did not take the GRE. You thought, well, they did not require. But if you read down, they would say, although it is not required, but it is recommended. Okay, so please take a GRE if you are applying for a PhD, and please take GRE if you are applying for a master's. Although MS may not required for admission to have a GRE, but if you once come here, one day you find out that there is a TA and RSship position. If you write, you have already taken GRE, it will definitely make it more attractive applicant. Okay, number one. Or chances are your professor might offer you, and he might say, okay, so although you do not have a GPA right now because it's the first semester, have you taken GRE? What is your previous? So you can say, yeah, I have taken GRE, and yes, my previous GPA was that. So you see my point. These things is a 20. I know it's these are rupees, but take a chance. You have to take chance in your life. Life without taking risks is not fun. And always remember, not taking risk is the biggest risk of your life. So you have to take risk of taking the admission, this test. If you get a good score, fine. If not, you can always repeat. But this is something you should always consider. And again, like I told you, do not give this reason of we don't have any mean to prepare for GRE. You do, okay? And you are on that forum right now. Anyway, for masters, and if I have missed something, I may get back to about the PhD. Yes, master's positions are not funded in general, but we have some students who went there and they were able to secure fully funded master's position. So again, I'm going to go back to the same first question, and that is, we cannot provide you, hey, this university have that much positions for masters, because it may be for this year, for not for next year. Okay, so let me give you an example, and this will hopefully clarify a lot of ambiguity about how you can sometimes get fully funded position for masters. The way it works is, so let me give you my example. Once I got a grant, the moment I got a grant, my salary started coming from there. So my professor went ahead and he hired another one, a postdoc. Okay, and now he hired. The guy emailed him and saying, hey, I'm looking for I just graduated. I'm basically looking for options. And the same day I got a grant. So he said, look, this guy would now have his own grant, so I can hire another one. The same way, sometimes these professors need a master student who can work with him for a year and a half. Okay, why year and a half? Because he does not have money. And how it works, the money thing, it's very complicated. I cannot explain everything, but the way it works is, if I'm a professor and I have 20,000 rupees, $20,000, sorry, in my account, and I can only use that for to train someone or get an equipment or get some stuff from my lab. So I would probably go for one option, and that is hire a master student. Okay, he can work with you on a project. Based on that project, you can basically write a grant, and that grant could be $2 million. And this is how it works in research, basically. So instead of buying an equipment, I'm like, okay, why not hire a student and do some good research? Now, I only have $20,000. Can I hire a PhD student? The answer is no. Can I advertise this position? The answer is no. Why? Because if I advertise, I have to pay money. If I then start interviewing students, it will cost me money. So guess what? I will just wait and watch. So all of a sudden I get an email, and this guy from, let's say, somewhere in Asia, and he emails me, okay, and I read the email, and I'm like, well, I'm looking for a student anyway, and I read his CV, and I'm impressed. I will email him back, hey, can you provide me your final project? Do you have any research experience? Blah, blah, blah. If thing goes on, I may even have interview him. See, everything is free. Email is free, interviewing is free, Skype is free. And within a month, I interview him, and I'm like, well, he's a potential. Now I have $20,000. He needs that $20,000, and I need his expertise because he has those expertise. I will definitely support him and ask him that he should apply for admission. And yes, in this case, I can even tell admission department that yes, I will support him because I have money, and yes, I have a proof, I have a document. So the reason we always ask you to contact professors is this reason, okay? And I can give you even more details, where the money come from, how money, but this is not your concern. Where I get my money or the professor get money is none of your, something you should worry about. Your job is, if you find some professor in your field and you think that you have the capability to help those and in their research, and of course you'll be a good addition to their lab, email them. Please do not just send email to random people. Read about them. Read about biography. Read about their research. Read about their current papers. You can even talk to their, contact their student and ask them, what's going on. That's why it takes time. That's why it's a long process, and not everybody can get it because you need determination. So based on what I just told you, this example, it shows that yes, you must contact professor in your field, the people who are basically in your field, and you think that you will be a good fit for their lab. Now, sometimes some universities may have funded MS positions. They don't advertise, but again, if you go on their department website, but again, see, this gets tricky here. Maybe in College of Engineering, computer science, which is that one division, do not offer any funded MS, but maybe College of Physics does. Okay, under the sciences. Okay, now knowing that they may do, how would you know? That's where you have to read about that particular division, that how many students they have, how many grants they have. And believe me or not, some university would provide, they keep their website very up to date. Not all of them, but some do. And they say we have right now 20 million of worth of a grant from, let's say, 7 different faculties. Okay, and this particular faculty has that many graduate students. So let's say at one stage my professor had 25 graduate students, 5 of them PhD, 20 of them were masters. So if you find some professor like this, that is someone who has money. Okay, that's how you find out. That's how you know, based on that how much grants they have. And they usually, it's a public information. You can definitely dig that out. The reason that I'm giving you all these details is to let you know that when you ask us, where should I apply? It's very difficult for us to make this decision for you. This is your decision based on your interest and also the information that you're going to get from their website. I'm not going to read for that, number one. And it may change. If this professor goes to some other university, then guess what? This university may not have money or that many graduate students funded. It will be the next university. How will you find out? Well, you have to search it. Okay, it is very subjective. So these two examples, but the third example that I gave you is that why we expect you to dig in a lot and read into some of these people information is this reason. Okay, again, going back, master's is not funded, yes, unfortunately, but the good thing is once you are physically here, the chances are very high. Always have a connection. If you know anyone in that university, connect with them. Once you are here, you can always stay in touch with the professor. The best thing, by the way, you can do is, although some professor might say, I don't have funding, but you can say, hey, I don't worry about funding. I would like to work as a volunteer. And the first semester, you work them with a volunteer. It's a very usual way in America, very usual. They will never give you money in the first semester, and I know why. The reason is because they do not know you, who you are, what is your capability. So they expect you work for free with them for one semester. Let's say after one semester, your GPA is good, 3.9, 4 GPA, 3.7, a good GPA, at least more than 3.5. And you could do some good work on a volunteer basis. By the way, never offer full-time volunteer. Never do that. It's not a good sign. If they ask you how much you can volunteer, you can say maybe 20 hours is maximum, 15 hours, 12 hours. And then you can go, let's say if you say 12 hours, then you can go three day, 4 hours, because it's a lot of work to study in master's, even if you just take 2 courses every semester. So let's say you do that. After first semester, of course, the first semester you have to pay your expenses, your fee and all that. Second semester, they may say, hey, you know what, I'm inspired with your work and your GPA. How about I offer you some, support? Say thank you. So if they offer you stipend, I would urge you that you can tell them, hey, how about instead of giving me a stipend, you waive my fee. And the reason I'm giving you this suggestion is stipend, let's say he give you stipend every month, $1,500. After tax, you will get only $1,100. Okay. Versus if he pays your tuition, and the tuition fee is, let's say he paying you $1,500 in the whole year will be $18,000. That's it. And after tax, you only get like 13,000, lump sum per year. Instead of that, if you tell them, waive my tuition fees, which might be $20,000 a year, okay? Guess what? If you get tuition, you don't have to pay tax on that. So instead of getting 11,000 cash, you are getting 8,000 more, which is 20,000 worth of a tuition, even if it's 18,000 still. And believe me or not, they're not going to argue with you, oh, I'm only giving you 18,000 and there's your fees is 20,000. They're not going to do that. They're going to say, okay, let me look into that. Okay. That is the best way. Another reason I told you why, and that is very interesting, and you will all experience this. You will believe me or not, but every year, these tuition fees goes higher. Okay. Since the economy went down in US in the last 15, 20 years, the university that I started studying in, their one credit hour fees was $400. 15 years ago, you know how much it is? It is now almost $1,200. Okay, so it's like 3 times more. So just imagine if your tuition fees right now is $20,000. After 1 year, it goes to 22. You have to pay that 2,000 more. So if you already had a commitment with the professor that he will waive your tuition fees, guess what? It's not your responsibility; it's his. You see my point? So instead of getting 11,000, now you're getting 22,000. Do the math. Listen to what I just said, and then if still not clarify, I can clarify. With that, I think I have covered pretty much all with the master's, PhD. And again, like I said, masters, there might be some positions which are masters, but the best way is looking their website, contacting the professor, and then once you are here, then the chances are much more higher getting TA and RA. Last thing that I would like to explain, the difference between TA, RA, and GRA. So one is teacher assistant, one is research assistant, one is graduate research assistant, okay? Or some might have a different name. Do not get complicated or do not get confused with this complicated terminology. Every university has their own way to do it, okay? So let's say one might call it research assistant, just a person, okay, whose job is a pay scale basically. If you're a teacher's assistant, you're just assisting the teacher in do what? Get the homework, assignment. When they're doing an exam, you help them with the exam. So if you're a master's or PhD student, you're helping them with the undergraduate. They may have some student who may have questions, and they may say, go talk to my teacher assistant. So you may have to answer those undergrad questions. You're not doing any research. You are just assisting the teacher. So maybe they give you only $1,000 per month, okay, or $20 an hour, okay, whichever. I do not know, what they would offer you. This is just basic stipend, a campus job, and as long as he's teaching, you are a teacher assistant. If he's not teaching, you're not a teacher assistant. Okay, that is another thing. In some cases, if you're a PhD student, of course, then you have throughout the year you will be teaching. You'll be a teacher assistant in some university, not all of them. Now, research assistant, you are helping with the research, but you're not a researcher. Okay, so don't get, oh, I'm going to be doing some hi-fi. No, they're just training you based on who you are. So if you're a master's student, they may just train you in a few things. If you're a PhD, then of course they will teach you a lot about, about some of these techniques. Okay, but if you're a master's student, trust me, they will use you, but they're not going to spend too much time on you because they know you're going to be with them only for a year and a half. Okay. But if you're a PhD student, which is GRA, Graduate Research Assistant, you are like a fully employed, like any other employee of the university. TA usually the TA don't get any tuition waiver. Sometimes they do. Again, like I said, it is based on different universities. RA, they get a little bit more money. So, again, don't get confused with TA has this, TRA has this. No, some university might not even have RA. They might say TA or research assistant, no graduate assistant. Research assistant then means you are a PhD student, okay? So do not get confused with this terminology. Every university has their own definition. But as a TA, if you're a teacher assistant and you're just assisting him, your pay is low. If you're a research assistant and you're a master student and they give you, and they let you use their equipment, then of course they're gonna give you train and you get more money. The last one, and that is the PhD student, GRA, you get scholarship, you get tuition waiver, you get stipend, and you also get insurance. Okay. Now, some university might not give, which is unfortunate, but I expect they should give you. In general, they give you all these three, and you like any employed person, so you have a lot of benefits. Okay, except that you cannot get, the retirement fund and all that. But your insurance is pretty good. And you have a lot of authorities in so many ways, which of course very subjective to different universities. Now, one thing that I would like to say, and that is every university has a different way of doing it. some universities, if a professor accepts you as a PhD student, then of course he will give you a project right from the start. Some universities, they ask you to be a TA in the first year of a PhD, which is okay, which is not a bad thing, because what they do is they let you go to different labs, spend some time, the professor, get to know you, you get to know them, and at the end of the year they may say, hey, you know what, and which is a good thing, because you do have the opportunity to work in different labs and get some hand-on practice on different equipments. So when you are, after a year, when you have done 2 semesters and you know a lot, and you have now 5 different projects that you have seen and worked on, you may be in a good position, say, hey, I want this project with this professor. Okay, so this is your what do you call it, wish. The professor might have a different wish. So if you are the first for this professor number 1, and in his list you are the first one for him, easy match. But if it's not, then of course you may get second, third, or different match. But that's a good thing in a way, that you get to see so much before you decide. On the other hand, 1 year basically you spend on something that you may not continue on. But in my opinion, is a good thing, because this way you get hand-on practice on so many equipments, or projects, or research experience. You will not get any publication. Okay. One thing that I read the other day in one of the group, and people were talking about that author. See, do not worry about the author thing right now. If you are a last, the 5th, 10th author, it is good for you, anything on your CV as of now. Okay. And then second, on PhD is a training. It is not, what do you call it? An education. So you keep in mind that when you apply for that, you should keep in mind, this is something that you have to be very, you have to put a lot of things about them. And that is, it's not education, it's a training. And training means you will be trained for a very specific way to answer, to question and answer something. Okay, so keep those things in mind. Now, I think I pretty much covered everything. So I do not know if there is anything that has left, unless I had something in my mind, and I think I went through all of them. If there is anything that missing, one of the mentor, one of the moderator, they can just write it down in the comment section. In the meanwhile, I can start taking questions. So please, if any question, please ask. But like I said, be specific. Do not ask very general questions about university requirement. University requirement is on the university website. Do not ask me or face, some of the moderator on the Scholar Den. If they are answering that, they're not doing anything good to you, because this is not their job, and this is your job. Admission requirement is every university website. Read there, okay? Because I may give you different requirement, and requirement changes overnight. Okay. Same thing goes for visa. Visa requirement changes over time. Okay. Or so you have to be very proactive. You read there where the requirement should be read from, because if they ask you a question, you may not be able to answer it. You may say, "Oh, flana ne kaha tha." That's not a good thing. Okay. So one question: jobs about after PhD. So here is my thing. If after a PhD you are having difficulty, again, sometimes I have to pull your ear. Okay, I have to give you a harsh answer, or a little bit tough answer. If you are having a problem getting a job after PhD, something went wrong, and that is that either your plan of doing PhD was not a right decision, or you completely blew it up. After PhD, believe me or not, you should not be looking for a job. Job should come to you. And again, I'm saying it in a very different way. Meaning, what happened is, when you do PhD, and some of the PhD students who are doing right now and who might be listening, and they will agree. You know your work, and you know people in the whole world who is working exactly the same research work like you are doing it. Trust me, you will. Okay. So let's say if I do in research in cancer, in imaging, I know how many labs in the whole world who is working. I mean, not all of them, but I know people, because I go to those conferences, so I meet people. For PhD, finding a job means a lot. Are you talking about like a professorship? Are you asking for postdoc, or are you asking for any industrial job? So all three are different, okay? And finding them is a different way. Usually, in PhD, you make so much connection that toward the end of your PhD, in my humble opinion, 6 months before you graduate, you should start looking for a job. Okay, and that job means postdoc, PhD, or any industrial. The reason I said that is 6 months before you will use your connections. Hey, I'm graduating in next 6 months. Okay, any suggestion, any opening? Not a problem. Why? Because you are so specialized, trained, that you can definitely ask your people, your friends, that look, I'm graduating. Any job for me? Same way, like I gave you my example, that one guy who was looking for a job and he sent my professor about, and same time I got grant, so he got that position. Same thing. What you would do, those people who work in your field, okay. Now I have a separate talk which I gave in Pakistan this year about career planning, that what you should be thinking when you apply for jobs and all that, and I can have a separate session on that and someday. But keep in mind, when you're looking for a job, for you to find some of the labs that might be fit for you, the most easiest way is the research papers. Yes. In research paper that you read, and the people who refer to your papers or the lab papers, if you look into that, it will tell you the author name and always the corresponding author name on the first page of the research paper. Okay, that's how you know, oh, that is the lab who basically work in the same line of research. You get the research, that person's email address from there, so you don't have to email them. But what you can do, if it says Ayaz Khan @ of let's say punjabuniversity.edu, now I am from Punjab University. So what you would do, you will go to Punjab University, you will search me, then you will search my profile, then you will read about the profile, and then you will say, although he has done some work, but it is not a place where I can fit in. Why? Because when you read about their facility, you saw that everything is already there, and you may not go and bring something new to them. See, always remember, do not go to lab where you can be just a highly skilled worker. No, go to lab where you can take some skills and you will learn some skills. So if they have exactly the same research, lab, same research, orientation, same equipment, what new you're going to learn? You're not going to learn anything new. Go to something different. Then same thing, you read another paper, or the people who have referenced your paper. And how would you know they reference your letter? Web of Science is one of a way that you can tell that who used your paper as a reference, and then you go and read from there. Okay, who's the author, who the institution, go and read. Again, like I said, it is a lot of work, but it's worth it. So that's why I started at least a year ago, just to know who is working in your lab, in your field. And by the way, like I said, if you're a PhD student, you should definitely know who is your competitor. Yeah, as a PhD student, you have competition. And whose are those competition? The labs, which is in Australia, and you are in America, they exactly the same research work like in your line. So you want to be the first one to publish the paper, so you can beat them. And they are trying to beat you. So yes, this is a positive, competition. And that's how you know. Second, for PhDs, conferences. Conferences are the best place to find a job for any PhD. A lot, and I usually post the conferences I go to. You will see hundreds of posts. You will be amazed. Only, like, if I do the math, only 50 or 60 people will graduate this year in the MR field, and there were 200 postdoc positions. Can you imagine? You will have 4 offers on average as a candidate. Okay, but sometimes they take people from different departments because they need some new skills. So always go to conferences, make connections. Okay, students like you, get connected with them. Postdoc, who are senior, then you get connected with them. Professors, teachers, and then when you find out some new research. Okay, another thing, the question was good, that how you find a job. The question is, what kind of job you will see is one thing, but in what research area? So let me give you an example. I am in MR physics related, research, imaging, MR in cancer right now, but imaging in general. 3 years ago, deep learning, machine learning was on something new, and you will be amazed. The conference I go to now, they cover 30% of AI, artificial intelligence, deep learning, machine learning. So don't you think now the people who are from computer science can come to our field? And the answer is yes. Sometimes you have to see the cross link, and the best way to find out where is the field going is conferences. So every time I go to conference, I go and look at the job position, and some people are like, are you looking for a job? My colleagues, I'm like, no, I'm not looking for a job. I'm just seeing where the field is going. 3 years ago in Singapore, when this conference held, everybody was talking about machine learning. And believe me or not, now we need people who have expertise in machine learning along with imaging. So 3 years ago, whoever was the student, and I saw some some Pakistani student, I told them, if you have a background, apply for this PhD position, because in 3 years you will have jobs everywhere. And believe me, right now, if you have anything with this machine learning, you can get in banking, financing, elections. Even election, you can use that your skills. Any decision making. Of course, medical science, genome, radiomics, genomics, all these things uses. So the point is, always look for position, but go to these conferences, and within conferences, look where is the field going, what kind of research positions are generated for PhD student and for a postdoc. Because now you're going to be a postdoc, so you have to see, okay, if they are looking for a PhD for this particular project, what will be they looking for a postdoc? And you should know in your field. If you're not, that's a problem. You should work on it. Then talk to your advisor, and they will definitely help you. But after PhD, you will have a horizon. Trust me. In terms of research, now what is career? Unfortunately, 3-4. You can work as a professor, as a research professor in academy, in an industry. Yes, you can work as a scientist the way I work. So that is another option as a scientist, or you can work as a consultant. Okay. So jobs venues are different, but what you need to keep in mind is, after PhD, you will have very limited jobs, because you're very highly skilled. But if you apply, it'll be a done deal, because then how much you will offer them, and they know how much they're gonna get from you, or both. It was both. Okay. So yes, after PhD, you will start jobs a year before looking for, and then apply at least 6 months before you graduate. And trust me, yes, it takes at least 6 years to get the job. Not that the process is lengthy, but of course they will ask you to come and meet us, give a presentation, and yes, you will give a presentation. It's a whole day meeting. Maybe 30 people, 20 people will interview you. This is how it works in research, and they see every skills that you have. And you may have 4 or 5 different interviews, before something come and offer you. And of course, you're not going to just take any position. You're going to look for, okay, what is best for you for your career. So after PhD, you should not have any, in my opinion, you should not have any concern about getting a job, as long as you keep yourself up to date in terms of what research about your research field. I know it's a long answer, but trust me, I have to give long answer, because to make everything clarify. Let me read some other questions. Some of them, if I don't find it interesting, I'm not going to answer them. Okay, but so look, in terms of what is the minimum GRE, it is nobody can give you a clear answer. I have seen students with less GRE getting admission, and with higher they do not. It's your overall application. Definitely at some stage you may say, hey, this is too low. But if you ask me, if you have a more than 310, that's a good score. Good enough to basically get the attention. Always aim for 340. Do not aim for 310. Do not see. That's why we don't want to give you, or even if you ask the scholar and administration, or all these people who work there, the mentors. I personally think that we should not give anybody any number. If somebody asks you what is the minimum GRE score I should get, 340. That's the minimum you should aim for, because the higher you aim, the better it is. If you aim for stars, you will get on the moon. But if you aim for the moon, you may end up somewhere between. So always aim high. Okay. But yes, if you have a good score, like what would, if you already taken it, I would say 310 plus. If you have good, with 300 plus, you can also take a chance. But keep in mind that that rest of your profile should be good enough. Okay. All right. Yes. So one question, and that is, always remember when it comes to PhD, this is something some of the mentors on this platform may not agree, but I do not believe in ranking of the university for many reasons. Number one, I wanted to cover this point, but since it was a bit controversial, now I can answer it since the question is there. Let's say you go to a very high ranked university, okay? The ranking of university does not mean the department that you are in has also higher ranking, okay? Secondly, not necessary in high ranking university will have a high ranking professor. And this is something, it is my personal experience. Other people may disagree. The professor who are very famous, they do not go. Let me repeat, famous and high profile professors prefer to go to small colleges or universities. Well, not college, but universities, low ranking. You know why? Because if they go to low ranking university, they are something, they are gods there. Like people look up to them. Oh, he's here. Okay, why? Because there he has a lot of authority. He has a decision making. But if he goes to Harvard and MIT, if he thinks he's something, there are 500 more faculty like him. Guess what? Now he has to compete. Okay, so again, this is not a clear cut answer, but I do not believe in ranking in terms of when it comes to PhD. Why? Because it's your research papers that makes you famous in the field, not the ranking. If you go, you can get literally. I got a postdoc in Harvard, and not based on my, the university I graduated from. It's not even in the 500 probably. Somebody told me this is within 500, and I never cared about it. I got that postdoc position because of my one paper. And interestingly, the paper was not even published. We were writing the paper, and based on that paper, he gave me that, and he did not even have a position. He created one for me. When he read my paper, he's like, "Wow, is this working on? Can you come and work in my lab?" And this is how, and he directly, uh, he met me one day. The very next day, he called my PhD advisor that I need him. So this is your research. In PhD, do not worry about the ranking. It is the research that you do, people know you, by. And I can show you so many Pakistani students who are here for a postdoc. They did their PhD in Pakistan. If ranking mattered, those people would have never been here, and they are postdoc in good universities. Okay, so again, in PhD, it is your research work. And of course, I don't want you to go to some unknown university, but if you like the ranking, if you like the research work and the facility, you will put your heart and mind in that project. And when you do that, you will publish in a good papers in good journals. And when a good journal you publish, the people who review will know, oh, okay, so such and such, headed this paper. And then you know how they know your paper? The way we remember paper as a researcher, we never say paper which describe imaging in cancer. No, we say, oh, the paper by Dr. Khan, the paper by Dr. Siddiqui, okay, the data by Smith's paper, Siddiqui's paper. That's how people know you then. Siddiqui's paper on such and such. You see, so they know you by that. They don't ask your GPA. Believe me, they would not even ask you about anything beside your paper. Oh, so you're the author of this paper. Tell us about that. You see my point. So don't worry about the ranking when it comes to PhD and journal. Again, I'm not worried about the ranking at all, because if any university gives you a fully funded master's program and you go there, you will do better if you get a master's in in one of the top ranking universities, and you don't have to pay your own tuition. Just imagine, you have to pay 30,000 tuition, 10-15,000 living, $45,000 you're paying out of your pocket. You will be stressed. Versus you go to some small average university and they pay everything for you. What is good? In my opinion, the average one, because you will have a lot of time to study and you will study good and you will do good, versus you are stressed because of the money, and you have to pay all these tuition. This is my opinion. I'm not saying everybody must go, but just imagine not everybody can go in high ranking. So consider the low ranking and average universities as well. Okay. Yes. So okay. So here's the thing. There is two concepts in America when it comes to tuition fee. One is called in-state. So I live in one state. If I go to university here, it will be in-state because I'm a resident, because I pay tax. Okay. But if I go, literally another state is like 10 minutes from here. So if I go and attend a university there, which is a 10 minutes from here, I will pay twice the fee as compared to the people who live there. Why? Because I don't pay tax to that state. So it's called in-state, out-of-state. Sometimes they waive for international student or even for other. So let's say if the tuition fee is 20,000 a year, and they say, yes, we can give you 50% off. Yes, that is possible. And yes, you can take those. And that is definitely, you can basically accept, depending on what your situation is. And once you come here, still, this offer is not from the professor. This offer is from the university, maybe the graduate school. The department did not offer you. This offer was from graduate school. So guess what? You can still apply for TA and RA. What if you get the TA RA ship? In that case, if your fee, if your stipend is 15,000, 18,000 again, same example, and you're getting 11,000 after, what do you call it? Tax detection, everything. Then, and your tuition is at 8,000, 9,000, then do your math and get the best benefit out of it. Okay. All right. Let me go to the next one. I already answered that question. I answered that question too. Some of these questions I have already answered, so please. Yes, one question. Sorry, I did not. I should have mentioned that. So yes, you guys can definitely apply for PhD after your BS. After your undergrad, you can apply for PhD. You will get a PhD degree only after your BS. It will only say PhD, but it is a basically master's plus PhD. Now, recently, and let me just clarify this for many people. HEC has said it that you cannot go direct PhD, which is, again, I do not agree. I do not know why they come up with this. Hopefully they will change it. But there is a trick, and the trick is very easy. You go take that PhD direct admission after BS, okay? And after you finish your master's requirement, you can tell the university, look, the country I come from, unfortunately, they want me to have both degrees. So what would they do? They will allow you to basically apply for commencement, which is the convocation, and and depending on how the universities has their requirement, they may ask you, hey, change your status to master's, get graduate, then change it back to PhD, which is like a very easy paperwork. They have to just sign it. So what you can do, you can, as long as you fulfill the requirement of master's, get the master degree, put on the gown, go to commencement, get pictures, and then after PhD, get another degree for PhD. So you will have undergrad, master's, and PhD. Very easy to resolve that. But yes, you can apply after master's. Okay. Yes. So yes, the question of like, do public universities also, private universities also offer PhD? And the answer is yes. Emory University, which is a private in Atlanta, one of the best private medical, university, I think full university. They have a lot of funding. So yes, they do. Okay. Well, see that one question about funded internship. The answer is yes. One of my students, she got a funded internship, but unfortunately her visa was not, approved. So the answer is yes, you can. But the only thing you keep in mind that getting a student visa is much easier than getting, a work visa or, like that. Because if you go there for internship, they have to give you a work visa, and work visa is immigration visa. Like you can, from work visa, you can apply for a immigration, and that's where it gets a little bit tricky. That's all I would say. But the answer is yes, you can apply. So the one question about master leading PhD, well, this is, when I say PhD, means it is master plus PhD or master leading PhD, but they don't call it master leading PhD because you don't get master's degree. You just get, from undergrad, you apply for PhD, and then you get PhD degree. But as I mentioned, if you apply, if you have to fulfill the requirement for HEC, get the master's degree, and that you can talk to your university department. They will definitely facilitate that. One of the question about the salary after PhD. So it depends. If you are, I can tell you one thing. If you are a postdoc, the postdoc might start about $37,000 minimum. The maximum they will give you 42 first year, and it eventually increases, but it will not go more than 50,000. So yes, it's very low pay for PhD. But again, PhD is is something that when you do it for the sake of science and research rather than for money. But trust me, if you become a good researcher, you may invent something and you may make millions of dollars with patent and all that. So for one of the question about for graduate for medical. So see, so one thing that some of the things that I have to really clarify in Canada, universities are very less. The number of universities, the competition is very high compared to US. That's why you get more options in US than in Canada. For medical university students there, one of the things that you have to keep in mind, if you want to work as a doctor in US or Canada, you have to take your their medical test, and of course after that residency, and then that is the best way to do it in terms of you want to practice medicine there. But if you want to go for studies, then of course you have to fulfill the requirement for master's or a PhD if you continue. Last year we had several MBBS students went for PhD. So yes, even the MBBS student can go for a PhD, and then their PhD could be in basic science, or like I said, under the College of Medicine in different departments: neuroscience, radiology, neurology, cancer, pathology, physiology. So many different that you can apply for. So no, research is not mandatory. Okay, one thing that let me clarify, and this is something again, small nitty-gritty information that I wish I have done it, but now I can do it here. The requirement for admission, every university has written on the website. So I'm not going to say that what are the requirement for particular university. The journal, they ask you for GRE, they ask for TOEFL or IELTS. Depend. Some of them they accept both. Or if you're not clear, email them and ask them. Do not ask your friend or me. Ask them so you can have a proof in the email. If they ask for research, is not required in any university that I know in America. They may say, yes, if you have a research experience prior, it adds a lot of value to your application, but it's not a requirement. Last year, one of the MBB student basically was very depressed. She did not apply because somebody told her, and unfortunately, here in US, one of the coordinators told her that your chances are low because you don't have research. This is not her she should not have said that. When I spoke with her, I said, look, as long as you fulfill the requirement, GRE, TOEFL, SOP, CV, and the application, apply, fulfill the requirement, apply. And believe me or not, she got 3 fully funded PhD offers, and of course she accepted one of them. But please do not worry, get confused with this thing, the requirement. If they say, hey, you have to have 2 papers, then of course, But if they don't write it, don't worry about it. Yes, you can apply in the 6th semester if you are, and then you're graduating next year. But the only thing is that you have to keep in mind that usually the session starts September. If you are graduated by September, yes, but if you're graduating December, then your joining would not be possible, and that might be a little bit of concern. So if you are applying, the way I look at it, I would give you my is the best thing is when you are finishing your 8th semester, start preparing for GRE that year. So let's say if you graduate this year December, start your application, read about PhD before, and then start your GRE now. Take it before May if you can. Apply for a Fulbright. Again, apply for Fulbright. If you get it, you don't have to accept it. If you think for Fulbright, you don't want to come back to Pakistan, don't accept the Fulbright, but at least apply. It will tell you who you are, and give you a deadline. But if you're thinking you cannot take it in May, then of course, don't worry about Fulbright. Take it at least July, August, so you can have September, October, in case you have to repeat. And then before that, you should work on the application. and then apply for the next year. I understand that if you apply in the sixth semester, which would be basically, I would not say apply in sixth, I would say apply in seventh semester. If you are right now, if you are in sixth, do not apply. Apply in next 7 and 8 semester, so you can get in 2019. This way, you will only have 6 months. And believe me, you think 6 months is a lot and is a waste? No, 6 months you will be amazed at how that 6 months will go, because you have to prepare yourself. You have to get the housing, moving there, settling down. You need at least 5-6 months. In my opinion, people who applying for visa should apply 6 months in advance, or whatever. America does not offer you. I think they have some particular deadline within that you can apply. But as long as you can apply as early is good, because based on that you have to prepare your depart. Okay. Yeah, if they tell you do not contact the professor, please do not, unless somehow you know them and you get some references. But if they tell you do not, see, again, if they do not encourage, is different. If they strictly say you are not allowed, then of course not. But if they say we do not encourage, then you can still see. Encourage means we don't expect you, but if you have a good reason to contact, yes, you can contact. But if they say please, you must not, and we'll put you on the on some blacklist, then of course do not. Otherwise, encourage, I would take it as a okay. Please do not. But if you do, that's not a big thing. See, possible. Yes, it is possible to get a fully funded MBA in US. Yes, it is possible. It is. What are the chances? It may not be that high, unfortunately. But yes, it is possible. And again, even if you come in business, always contact with the professor. Once you come here, then you can definitely look for meet them in person. And meeting in person you might be able to get some kind of RA and TA-ship. But again, being here physically is very useful. And of course, for that you need one semester of tuition and expense. But make sure that before you come to America, you do have some kind of communication with them. It makes it easy. Okay, so for the question for postdoc, how many papers should be published? The answer is, even if you do not have one paper published, you can still get a postdoc. Yes, it is amazing that I'm saying that, but it is true. And the reason is sometimes some of these basic science people, they may not even have one paper published as a first author, and they still can finish their PhD. The reason is the paper they're writing, the advisor know that it is a very good paper. And if he writes, then they can graduate. And even the people who are hiring you, if they know what kind of research you do, they will hire you. They know your paper is unpublished, but they know that it will be published in a good journal. So the question, so there is no minimum. But again, if you have good papers published in PhD, of course, it gives you a good edge. But again, good papers, not just papers. Yes, so it is not necessary to contact the professor. That's correct. You just apply for admission and you are considered for a fully funded PhD candidate. But we encourage you to, if you have the luxury of time. Again, if you take your GRE in November and you apply for admission in December, you do not have time to contact professors. Okay, you may do in the future once you have applied all the universities. Then you may, and do not just email them, hey, I have applied. Can you accept me? No, email them for some good reason. If you have a good research experience and you think that you may be a good use for them, then definitely, you should contact them and say, look, I have worked such and such. I have applied many universities. Your university is one of them, and I'm looking for a good lab, which might be a good match for my research. Maybe you have 2 papers, and based on that, you're saying it, and then tell them, hey, is there any, what are your what are your future? Just start the communication, and then we can help you how to shape your email. This way, if the professor know about you, they may not help you get the position. Let me be very honest to you. Some of them may tell you, hey, look, I cannot help you in the admission process, but once you are elected or selected, I will consider you as a PhD student. Okay. Second might say, hey, look, I am in the admission committee and I have liked you so much, and I will basically lobby for you. So they can lobby if they have the authority. So they may go in and sit in the admission committee and say, look, I have this one student. she's amazing, and I think she should be given, she's a good candidate. And then he will give and based on your communication, he may say, look, I basically, I'm pushing that she should be one of the candidates. Sometimes they're given, again, depending on the university, some of are given, hey, you can select some, and the rest would be selected based on the overall criteria. But again, I cannot tell you which university. Some of them do, some don't. So yes, contacting professor even after you apply is fine, but do not just email and say, कि आपके पास PhD position है. No, a good reason, and the reason good reason means आपके 1-2 paper published हैं, and you think you are a good asset for them in their research. Definitely yes. But if you are just doing it for fun, I would say don't do that. It's not going to do anything good to you. Okay. One question that I would like to comment more on is, the salary of PhD. So let me go over a little bit more. See, after PhD, money is not, so let me put it this way. There is no money in research. You generate your own salary. Okay. So if you are a professor who is a research professor, there are two kind of professor. One is, they both are called assistant, associate, or full professors. You start with assistant, then you become associate after 6-10 years, depending on your achievement. They don't just give you anyway. Okay. You have to publish good papers, you have to do some research, you have to bring grants, you have to train PhD student, and then you become an associate. Assistant professor might make money 60 to 80,000 a year, which is very low, because some of these technicians can make 100,000 per year. Then when you become an associate, it will be from 80 to 100. And if you're a full professor and you are very good, you may make 100,000 to 130, maybe 150. But trust me, there is not much money in research. And even that money that they get, it is not easy money. You have to write your own grants. So some universities will give you 6 years, that will support you for 6 years or 3 years. And within 3 years, you have to develop your research lab program. They give you money for that period. And then after 6 years, if you do not bring any grant, or if they see there is no reason to keep you, they will fire you. So I'm not scaring you not to go into PhD, but what I'm trying to say is, keep in mind that if you're doing it, do it for passion, do it for, for a love of science, not for money. Yes, if you are smart and you, like I said, if you write some patents, invent something new in your field and you sell it to big companies, man, you're going to make millions of dollars. You may even retire after you invent. You can say, you know what, I have $5 million, a lot of money, and I can just quit and start my own job. If you like teaching, PhD is your thing. If you like research, this is your thing. But research, again, it is not, research is 24/7. If you're a PhD student, you're a postdoc, or you're in research field, 24/7. You review grants for free. You review papers for free. You sometimes moderate, you do it for free. Yes, invited talk, they give you airfare and living, but they don't pay you money. Or same thing, if you moderate in the conference, same thing, they pay for your for lodging and traveling, but they're not going to pay you money. Or if they pay you money, then there's your other income, which you have to declare to your university. So again, not to scare you, but keep in mind, these things you have to keep in mind. Okay. Okay, so a question about bachelor. See this. So yes, you depending on the university requirement, you may be able to get into some university without SAT. But again, this is something you have to dig in and find which universities might take you. But keep in one thing in mind. If you think that you might be able to find any funding for undergrad, the answer is no, unless you are a citizen or maybe a green card holder. You will not be eligible for any funding in USA at all. Okay. Okay, what about social? The question is not clear. What about it? Like, are you asking that can you apply? The answer is yes. For social sciences, you can apply for PhD. It will be fully funded in journal again, unless the university specify that we do not have money. And these are the small nitty-gritty questions that we cannot answer, unfortunately. In journal, they have money and they will not offer. You see, just imagine you're a student and you're going to be studying for 6 years. See, after undergrad, it's a 6 year long program, 2 year PhD, coursework, 2 year for PhD coursework, and then 2 year thesis. Sometimes it's 5.5, but what happens is, even if they say 5, by the time you fulfill your requirement, it is 6 years. So 6 years is average. 5 year is a very good, you have to be genius to do that. And sometime, some people even do it 7 years. By 8 year, it is extended, and you have to give reason why you are going into the 8 year. Otherwise, 7 year is very normal in basic science. So yes, if universities say that our PhD are not funded, then do not apply. And the reason they must be funded is, if you study for 6 years and you pay out of your pocket, okay, and after that you only make $50,000 a year, what is the point? You see my point? Doctors in America, they make, $500,000, 300,000, which is like 3-5 crore rupees. Okay, so yes, if they pay a lot of money to study, that makes sense. But researchers do not make that much money. Okay, so if you start charging them a lot of money, guess what? They're not going to have any researcher. So that's why they have to put PhD fully funded. Unless, okay, by the way, one thing I have to specify, why they are giving PhD admission without funding is, in America, some of these, every organization, they pay for your studies. So let's say if I'm working in a hospital, and they can pay for my master's degree. If I want to study, let's say, MBA or something, I have a PhD, so I don't have to study PhD again. But if I want to study a master's degree in business or something, and it will help me in my career, in my work, they will pay for it. But the way it works is, I get a good grades. If I pass it, they pay me money. Okay, so the same way, some of organization might give you money, okay, to continue your PhD, but that will be part-time, and that will take probably 10 years to finish. Who cares? It takes 10 years, but then you have to stay with that organization for that long. So that is possible that you can do PhD through organization. So that's why they give you admission for, without funding, or they expect you that you bring your own funding. With that, I think I have pretty much, spoke about the journal thing. Again, unfortunately, see, the things are so many. Sometimes we may not be able to provide you answer to everything. And the reason being, because some of them are very subjective to your circumstances, and those should be answered only to you. Yes, so as a pharmacist, you should be applied directly to PhD. Sometime they may ask you for evaluation, where most of the time they ask for evaluation, if I'm not wrong. Some of the mentor might comment on that. But evaluation is very common right now in medical field. So engineering, they may not be that strict. I remember I did my evaluation for a postdoc, believe it or not, because it was in Harvard. So they say, hey, since your degree is from Pakistan, you should evaluate. Once I did my evaluation, they say, yes, even I had a master's and PhD here, but they wanted me to evaluate my bachelor's degree. So yes, sometimes they may have some kind of requirement. And again, if they're requirement, you have to fulfill it. One more thing that I was gonna say is, something came to my mind which I thought would be important to give you guys. Yes, so sometimes you may change your field, or you may study something which the university think that you are not ready based on your evaluation. So let's say you did the WES evaluation, WES, and then based on their assessment, they did not approve 1 or 2 courses. So they will ask you to do a couple of courses as a prerequisite. Okay, so that means you have to take 1 extra semester. So if they're paying for it, fine. If they're not paying for it, then of course that's something that you have to find out. But when you change the field, sometimes they don't take some of these courses. This thing might happen, and please do not get worried about that. That's very easy to basically to taken care of. I have already covered this availability for the master student. I'm not going to repeat that answer, so you can review the whole video. So this video we've of course posted. We're gonna on this forum. If you have questions, of course, you can ask questions. There are other mentors, they might be able to answer it. And again, hopefully, if things turn out to be too many questions and queries, we may do another session just to basically clarify those points. But like I said, overall, the admission process is very straightforward. As long as you fulfill the requirement, you can apply. The question comes in when you guys look for specific questions. Then it's not general as a specific question, and it might be just applied to that particular university. One of the things. Second, the most important thing that you guys have to do, GRE, you have to spend a lot of time. And the second most time consuming thing is, and depending on your own situation, you can do it, is finding the university and shortlisting the university. This is your job, okay? Spend a lot of time, months, no problem. The more you study, the more you read, the better, informed you will be. And the easy it gets, by the way, toward the end, to choose the university and write a good SOP. If you read about 50, 30 different programs and you write your SOP will be amazing, polished. It will have so much information because you chose this program based on so much information. Okay. With that, I think there is no other question. I can, if none, that I may just, say thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, you can later on write in the comment section and we may be able to answer. Let me quickly check if there are any comments as of now. If not, I think we should be just done, I think, with this part. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, if there are so many queries, maybe me or some other mentor might do some other session just to clarify those. Okay. Thank you so much and good luck. And I hope everything goes, smooth with your application. Okay. Allah Hafiz.